Hello, everybody. I'm the Wandering Took, and today I'm going to rank all five Toy Story movies from worst to best while my sister brings these movies to life on the page. Toy Story is my favorite franchise of all time, and these movies all hold a special place in my heart. So, without further ado, let's get right into it.
So in last place, it's still Toy Story 4. This is not a bad movie by any means, but has the most flaws and least interesting thing to say. That being said, it's still a fun, hilarious, and worthwhile adventure for our favorite toys. Everyone hates that this exists because it ruined the ending of a perfect trilogy. Though I agree with that, I'll never get mad at more Toy Story. Plus, there's a fifth one now, and you can't hold the same grudge anymore. I saw this 3 times in theaters when it came out. I had no memory of seeing Toy Story 3 in theaters, and I was only a year old when the second one released. So you better believe I was going to get my fix of Toy Story on the big screen when the fourth one came out. Maybe there's some nostalgia surrounding that, but I do think this is still a good movie. The animation here is beautiful. I was blown away when I saw it in theaters the first time, and it still looks amazing 7 years later, but that is a given with Pixar. I love most of the new characters this one introduces, even if it does sideline the ones we already love. Duke Kaboom is Duke Kaboom. Keanu Reeves kills it in this role. We also have Ducky and Bunny, who I don't think was needed, especially since there are so many other comedic relief characters, but they gave us winner, winner, chicken dinner, coming up with a plan to beat up and jump an old lady, not one, not two, but 3 times is so funny. They let that whole sequence play out, and it still cracks me up to this day. That alone justifies Ducky and Bunny. You can't forget about Forky. Some people find this character annoying, but there's something about him that gets me every time. The I'm trash bit and essentially trying to off himself into the garbage over and over just feeds into my crude humor, and I love it. This movie also brings back Bo Peep, which I'm indifferent about. I never really cared for her or wanted her as a co protagonist. The change in her personality is drastic. It's hard to buy into. I'm curious to how many Bo Peep toys they sold after this movie because I don't know any kids, girl or boy, asking for a Bo Peep. Then finally, we have one of the weak points of this movie, Gabby Gabby. I don't like Gabby Gabby. She is the worst antagonist in all the films by far. They also made her an anti villain, which didn't help. I don't know what they wanted me to feel here. Like, I don't feel bad for her. Her backstory isn't that tragic. She goes through all the trouble, cuts open my guy Woody just to get tossed away by the little girl. Such a waste of time there. They gave her the ending with the lost girl at the carnival, which was sweet, but Gabby didn't deserve any happy ending. Now that we're on a negative streak, let's talk about the travesty of Buzz Lightyear in this movie. I don't know why they continue to do Buzz so dirty in every movie. He already went through the arc of being clueless in the first one. Why is he so dumb here? He's been around years at this point. He hasn't caught on to some things. He doesn't know common figures of speech. The inner voice thing really takes me out of the Buzz scenes here. It doesn't get too much better with Toy Story 5, but we'll get to that. Then there's the ending scene with the RV and all the toys controlling how the dad drives. This is almost as bad as the Finding Dory sequence with the truck. I get this is a kids movie about talking toys, but this is not it. It's also all just plot convenience, which I never like in any movie. I do like Woody's send off, which I think is earned and doesn't ruin his previous arc. He's done all he could for Bonnie, and it's his turn to do something for himself. It's unfortunate they kind of ruined the moment with the Forky gag, but it's emotional enough and pulls my heartstrings. I do think I teared up the first time seeing it, but that's about it. It doesn't quite hold the same weight on rewatch, but seeing Woody and Buzz share that moment makes this movie worth it. Overall, I'm completely okay with Toy Story 4 existing. We got some cool new characters, funny moments, and Woody was able to essentially retire. Despite all my criticisms, this movie still makes me feel something when I watch it. I'll probably never watch this as a standalone film, but don't listen to the hate. It's a decent movie. So, next, in fourth place, is Toy Story's newest entry to the franchise, Toy Story 5. This is a solid movie. Recency bias may have this cracking my top 10 favorite Pixar films ever. I feel like it has a necessary message to share and is much needed. It definitely fits in better than Toy Story 4 did. The film does start off a bit odd with its Buzz Lightyear B plot. The dozens of buzzes traversing through the movie adds nothing to the plot. I don't understand Pixar's fascination with watering down the character of Buzz and using alternate versions of him. If you take this out of the movie and add more emotional moments in place, it'd be a far better film. The actual plot is a lot better. Jessie as the main protagonist is quite the delight. That was an unfinished arc from the second film that a lot of people wanted explored. Jessie finally accepts and understands that she is good enough. She makes a difference in people's lives, specifically the kids like Bonnie and Emily. I wish they touched on the emotional beats a bit more though. The scene where Jessie finds out Emily named her daughter after her was very sweet, but it doesn't last long and it doesn't give you enough time to feel anything. I heard a lot of people left this movie teary eyed, but it didn't get me. I felt emotional at parts, but it never hit like When She Loved Me in Toy Story 2 or So Long, Partner in Toy Story 3. Either way, Jessie was the high point of the film. Joanne Cusack did a phenomenal job voice acting, and I'm satisfied with the character's arc. So this movie really tries to tackle the whole tech versus toys thing and just how technology can be harmful to us today and kind of prevent us from having that human interaction. And I do think it is an important message to tell children and adults alike to be careful with letting technology consume you. It does get a bit unrealistic, I guess, with the tablet lily pad equivalent. Even though Bonnie is only 8 years old, there are kids out there in that age range that just have straight up smartphones now, so feels a little bit unrealistic. Lilypad as a character in general and as an antagonist is fine. They go with the anti-villain arc like they did in Toy Story 4, and they did a bit better here, but I don't really feel anything for the lily pad, and she comes off as a little annoying. She does help Bonnie find a friend in the end, and that's where kind of use comes from. But, she's not the worst antagonist in the franchise, as that goes to Gabby Gabby. This movie introduces three new characters in the older tech toys: Snappy, the Hippo GPS thing, and then, of course, Smarty Pants. And I don't really care for any of them. Conan O'Brien does a good job with what he's given, but he's not that funny. There were a lot of bathroom and poop jokes, which are just never it. I definitely liked Forky more in Toy Story 5 than Smarty Pants here. And then on top of that, these are just toys no kid would ever have. That, and along with the pointless Buzz B plot, ate up a lot of screen time. They sideline a lot of beloved characters yet again. They gave Mr. Potato Head of all characters like 6 lines, and the voice actor was no Don Rickles. Rest in peace. It just sounded off. This movie did go a lot deeper in the human side of things and connecting us a lot more with Bonnie. You feel a connection with her more than the fourth movie and even more than Andy as a kid. Kids grow up fast now, and I've seen that in my own younger sister, who's drawing in the background of these videos, so shout out. One day I'm buying her toys, and the next day it's makeup. I hope this resonates with some younger kids that it's okay to play with toys and just express your goofy side. So the movie ends with the chase to get Lilypad back after she tosses herself, all because Jessie and the other toys think that they need the Lilypad to connect Bonnie with Blaze in order to make a new friend, which I guess is true, but I felt like there's just easier ways to do this, and we don't need the Lilypad back. I also don't care about the Lilypad, nor do I feel bad for her. Again, they went with the anti-villain thing, and they did the same thing with Gabby Gabby in Toy Story 4, and it just doesn't work here. At least that ending sequence has all the Buzz Lightyears in drone form, which looks super cool, and does it make it worth it? Probably not. Like I said, the Buzz B plot was pretty pointless, but just the spectacle of seeing that is cool. The movie also ends with the Bonnie and Blaze play sequence, and this is what Toy Story is all about, that human to toy connection, and in this case, the kid to kid connection, which fits right into the theme. They go ahead and use this super unique animation style as Bonnie's interpretation of play and what's going on in her head. These scenes really help this movie be great. The play scenes in any of the Toy Stories are fun and always give some sideline characters more representation. One thing I do want to touch on is the Jessie and Buzz marriage thing. They kind of do Buzz dirty here, but it is what it is. I see people saying that they intentionally made Buzz that way so they could promote the girl power in Jessie. I just don't see it. It's a kid's movie and it's not that deep. The marriage ceremony at the end is cute, and nothing like that ever crossed my mind. One last thing before wrapping up with this movie I want to touch on is just the animals and how they're animated. They all look amazing. From the critters in the forest that the Buzzes interact with, to Blaze's horse, to the pig, Jimmy Dean. Jimmy Dean just steals every scene that he's in, and I'm all for it. You cannot hate on Jimmy Dean. I just rewatched this movie for that. But yeah, overall, I also don't see myself coming back to this one nearly as much as the first three Toy Stories. Doesn't have as much rewatchability, and it also could become fairly outdated in the next upcoming years. But overall, it's a good entry to the GOAT franchise. Now we get into the heavy hitters. These are all ranked in my top 10 Pixar movies ever. But in third place is Toy Story 3. This is the perfect ending to a perfect trilogy, and a lot of people have this as their number one. There are just a few things that keep this from ranking any higher for me. This film starts out like a classic Toy Story film. The scene of Buzz, Woody, and Jessie stopping Mr. Potato Head is great. And as I said, it's great seeing the core group of toys in action. Seeing a kid's imagination and what these toys mean to him is what it's all about. We can all relate to that in some way. I also like how this intro takes us through Andy's childhood all the way to current time. It gets straight to the point, and us as the audience completely understands this, especially since it's been 11 real years since the previous movie. The film then switching to all the toys freaking out over what is going to happen next is an interesting dynamic. You can really feel the anxiety and uncertainty from them not knowing what is going to happen when Andy leaves the college. Jessie's fear of tight spaces and abandonment has always been something I wanted explored more, and we got exactly that in Toy Story 5. Most of the toys here are being realistic, except Woody. Woody's loyalty and duty to being a toy for Andy is in full effect here. It makes his decision to move on from Bonnie in the fourth work because these are the moments he earns that. Even the lengths he goes to get the gang out of Sunnyside and back to Andy goes a long way. He's not only being a loyal toy, but more importantly, a good friend. Woody has some moments still where he gets frustrated or does some stubborn things, but those pure and genuine acts of friendship always shine through and define him as a character. But enough Woody. Let's talk about Buzz. I think they do Buzz bogus again. I like the concept for the sake of the prison scene and the psychological effect there might be having your friend keep you captive, but I want to go and see Buzz in action as himself. I'd like him to be as involved as Woody, to share as co-leaders, not use Buzz every movie as a gag. Even the Spanish Buzz isn't that funny to me and not necessary, just as the inner voice was the same in Toy Story 4. Lastly, I'll touch on Lotso, who was a pleasant improvement from Stinky Pete from Toy Story 2. They went with the twist villain again, and it worked. Lotso really made the environment at Sunnyside go from welcoming to menacing. Him as a sort of warden character for a toy prison was awesome. I like his quick backstory that almost makes you feel bad for him, but also makes you dislike him at the same time. Like, it's not that deep. You got replaced. Let Big Baby go back. What did he ever do? I also like how they trick you into thinking he might have changed just to betray the gang one last time. He got what he deserved, and he is probably the best antagonist in the franchise, in my opinion. Oh, and before I forget, shout out to Totoro and the Ghibli film My Neighbor Totoro. I just realized he was in this movie upon my last rewatch. I wasn't into Ghibli films the last time I watched this, so to see Totoro was a pleasant surprise. Apparently John Lasseter and Miyazaki are friends. Regardless of why Totoro made a cameo, it was cool to see, and I highly recommend seeing My Neighbor Totoro and other Ghibli films if you haven't. Straying away from that tangent, I think Toy Story 3 is actually the least funny movie of the five. Besides more Mr. Potato Head, who cracks me up every time he's bantering with others and or calling them morons, this film is probably the least quotable or memorable. I'm sure most people would say Toy Story 4, but Forky alone was enough to be funnier than this film, in my opinion. And I think it's because there's a lot more emotional weight behind everything here. It all leads to those two ending sequences, which obviously are tearjerkers. I appreciate how they let the audience feel those moments without throwing in some unnecessary comedic relief. The incinerator scene at the junkyard is one of the most intense scenes in the franchise. They almost have you for a second, and I'm not mad that the aliens use the claw to save them, of all things. Great callback, and funny without being too plot convenient. Also, the music in the scene really sets the tone. Randy Newman is always great, and this film has some of his best work, in my opinion. This and the end when Andy gives his toys to Bonnie wouldn't be the same without that score. But, music or not, the ending to this film is what makes it great. I shed a few tears every time. You really feel the emotions of Andy and his hesitation to give away these toys. You also feel his sense of growing up and readiness to move on to the next chapter of his life. Those same emotions directly translate to Woody. His entire livelihood was making sure this kid was okay. Moving on from someone or something you love is one of the hardest things you can do. He accepts that, but isn't completely over it, and that's why I think Toy Story 4 works for me. I don't think I'd ever just watch this film without watching the first two first, but I could watch 1 and 2 either or as standalone adventures, and that's the only reason I have this a bit lower. But Toy Story 3 is a near perfect film nonetheless. It's time for my big two and two of my all-time favorite movies, period. I've had to watch these a combined 100 times fairly easily since childhood. Not something to necessarily be proud of, but these are the movies I think of when I see Pixar. There can only be one number one and number two, and in second place is the original Toy Story from 1995. This movie is simply iconic. From the opening sequence to Andy playing as You've Got a Friend in Me plays in the background, to the very end of Buzz and Woody falling with style, this movie has endless moments that capture that nostalgia. The only gripe I have here is the story is very simple, but that actually gives it its rewatchability. And then there's the dated animation, which I don't mind. As I said earlier, it gives it a sort of charm. There's not much to complain about. It's amazing this is Pixar's first feature film. This movie does a great job at introducing the characters and creating this bond between them and us as an audience. It set the foundation for 4 movies to come, and they all are fantastic because of the legwork that this film did. I will always be able to watch this movie and finish it with a smile on my face. This is by far the funniest of the 5 films. The amount of quotes and memorable moments that come from this movie in 80 minutes is actually insane. There's I'm Picasso, Mr. Lightbeer, the Claw. There seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere. Mrs. Nesbit, you are a toy. There's even an Etch-a-Sketch drawing a noose. A noose? There are endless moments like these that I may quote on a daily basis without even knowing. Scratch that. I know I quote some of these things on a daily basis. That most people have used at least once in their life. This film is so influential. It's the first 3D animated film, for heaven's sake. The best part about this movie, though, is the friendship Woody and Buzz develop. Their arcs are great throughout this one. You genuinely believe they are good friends by the ending sequence, and it carries on into 4 more movies. It is the gold standard of friendships. I can ramble on and on about this one and end up going play by play of the whole movie. I have a favorite part about every scene practically. This movie holds a special place in my heart, but there's one more that's even better than this one. The best Toy Story film in the franchise and arguably one of the best sequels ever is none other than Toy Story 2. I will dive a little deeper into this one since it might be my favorite movie ever. We all know that Toy Stories always start off with a banger. Toy Story 2 takes that even further. The video game buzz goes hard. The visuals, music, sound effects, and Star Wars references are enough to get anyone hyped. This is what the Lightyear movie from a few years ago should have been. This entire sequence just for Buzz to get blasted is hilarious. Hilarious after the fact you realize it was Rex playing a video game. The movie then wastes no time at introducing the plot, theme, and antagonist of the film. The rescue mission of Wheezy is also a great way to introduce Al. Al is the OG scumbag of ripping off old people at their garage sales. If Buddy ever comes around and takes my prized possession, he's catching a right hook. This intro also shows us Woody's fear of being left behind and knowing he may not last forever. The scene where he's dreaming and Andy says, "I don't want to play with you anymore," and drops him down into the trash is always freaky and anxiety inducing. But this movie sets the tone within 20 minutes and lets us get straight into the good stuff. We even meet the Roundup Gang a few minutes after that and Woody's whole backstory. One of the main reasons I enjoy this film the most is because there are so many characters involved. The characters I want to see more of: Buzz, Ham, Potato Head, Rex, and Slinky going on a rescue mission and traversing the town is awesome. One of the best scenes in Toy Story are them crossing the street disguised as traffic cones to get to Al's toy barn. This mission gives all these characters something to do. They all feel necessary to the plot, have great comedic chemistry, and their own unique qualities shine. They are mostly sidelined in the other films, and this is especially prevalent for Buzz. This is by far my favorite version of him. He's a leader, action hero, competent, and doing whatever he can to be a good friend. He is so much more dumbed down and simplified in movies 3 and 4. Buzz's arc in this one going full circle from the first, and him being the one to tell Woody he's a toy, is a surreal moment. Buzz is a co-lead and a dual protagonist in this one with Woody. He progresses the plot a lot and has equal if not more screen time than Woody, and I'm all for it. Then there's the Roundup Gang, who feel like they belong immediately. They have great chemistry with Woody, and it almost justifies Woody's decision to go with them to Japan. Stinky Pete is a good twist villain, not as good as Lotso, but we also have Al in this one to help. Bullseye is a cute sidekick type character, but Jessie obviously stands out, and they did a great job at making us feel for her and her backstory. Using the "when she loved me" scene puts us right into Jessie's shoes, or boots. That song gets a tear out of me every time, and we completely understand her frustrations with Woody and why this museum means so much to her. But yeah, we're rooting for these toys we just met and have only spent a limited time in a hotel room with. Like I've said, the characters make Toy Story what it is, and this film hits on so many different ones in meaningful ways. I can't move on from talking about characters without touching on Woody. I like Woody's dilemma with his fear of being discarded or taking the museum path. It may bother people he even considers the museum, but I think that was just out of empathy for Jessie and the gang. That's why I'm not mad at it, because they do such a good job at making you feel for Jessie. We know Woody's battling the choice in his head, but deep down he's going to get back to Andy somehow. If it weren't for these internal struggles like this, he wouldn't be nearly as intriguing as a character and may come off as one-dimensional. So, characters are great, and so is everything else dang near. Animation holds up, soundtrack goes hard as always, shout out Randy Newman again, and this movie improves upon everything from the first. The only criticism I have about this film is the end feels a tad rushed. The toys driving to the airport always gets me, but it isn't as over the top as some other Pixar movies. Finding Dory. Then there's the thrilling end with the airplane. If you don't think about it too much, it's an exciting action sequence, but Bullseye isn't running as fast as an airplane. Other than that, it's a perfect movie. To some, this is just a movie about talking toys, but to me, it is one of the best displays of friendship and loyalty you can find. Toy Story 2 will never get old. These movies are more than just toys coming to life. They are about identity, fear of abandonment, friendship, and learning your value through people that stand beside you. Toy Story is my favorite franchise ever, and as long as they keep hitting on themes like these and have something powerful to say, I say, keep on making them. I will never get tired of seeing Woody and Buzz on the big screen.